This is the top 13 weirdest Halloween specials. Underfist. This one's odd because it's a Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy Halloween special that barely has Billy and Mandy in it. That's because it was actually made as a pilot to a spin-off series. A team of special individuals that form over the course of a Halloween invasion of candy monsters led by an evil marshmallow Easter bunny.
What's a marshmallow bunny doing in a Halloween special anyway?
Basically, it's a bunch of the side characters, favorites among fans and writers, and puts them all together. But what's really interesting is how well it works.
And property damage was kept to a minimum.
Like, take this nerdy kid named Erwin for a second. His mom is actually an Egyptian mummy, and his grandpa is actually Dracula. Now, these were just gags and punchlines in the series.
Leaving a whole lot of questions that don't need to be answered.
Yeah, but how did you and Erwin's mom...
Leaving a whole lot of questions that don't need to be answered.
But here, he actually becomes a quarter-breed vampire with Egyptian powers. How awesome is that? And I could never get enough of Haas Delgado, a mixture of Snake Plissken and Ash Williams.
Bet you never saw this coming.
Oh man, there is just so much going on in this, and I love it. Well, maybe a little too much. About every character has a subplot. From Erwin adjusting to his powers, Delgado's prejudices against monsters, General Scar's shaky loyalty, and Jeff the Spider dealing with growing up.
I never should have tried. I knew I couldn't do it. Why did I start?
It's like a Michael Bay movie that somehow works. What sucks is that Cartoon Network was clearly not interested. Maxwell Adams had already finished production on the last season of Billy and Mandy, and the network wouldn't pay for a regular crew. A lot of work for this was done by freelance artists in a completely different animation studio. But hey, it turned out great.
I'm tired of all you busters dissing me. Nobody likes me, but that's okay, because I don't like y'all anyway. Uh-huh.
And here's why this makes the list specifically. The special had a really strong premiere in 2008, but then disappeared for the next couple years. Now this is just between you, me, and the floorboards, but I think they purposely put off re-airing this as a Halloween special until Maxwell was definitely working on other projects, so that they could have plausible deniability that no one was interested in a new series.
You dirty traitor!
Well, no matter, it's still one of the best Halloween specials I've ever seen. Festive, kick-ass, and gratifying to see minor characters step up and become comedic heroes.
Underfist, yo!
Oh, and if you think I'm leaving out anything important, don't worry. That might show up on another list. The Halloween Tree. Ray Bradbury was an incredibly accomplished genre-spanning author, and with works like Fahrenheit 451 and The Martian Chronicles, it was no wonder why he was considered a pioneer in modern science fiction, who just so happened to die the same week Prometheus came out. Coincidence? But depending on who you ask, The Halloween Tree is probably his most cherished work, author's opinion included. It was originally written as a Halloween special that was meant to be produced by Chuck Jones, but the project fell through. It had to wait 30 years for Hanna-Barbera to pick it up again. This was the final days of the studio, and I always considered this movie their swan song. A group of friends are meeting up for Halloween, but one of them is missing. The widely acclaimed coolest kid in the world, Pip.
Ah, yes, Joe Pipkin. Some say that on the day he was born, all the soda pop bottles in the world fizzed over. Pipkin, who could yell louder, sing better, and eat more popcorn. Pip, the greatest boy who ever lived.
Lunchy munchies?
At first it looks like Pip is going to be spending Halloween in the hospital getting his appendix out. But when they see the ghostly figure of their friend running off into the deep woods, they assume that it's old Pipkin just playing another prank. But things turn grim when they discover the Halloween tree and its mysterious tender.
Mound Shroud is the name. Carapace clavicle Mound Shroud.
From there, the kids are led on a journey through time and space as they try to track down their missing friend and learn the cultural significance of each of their costumes and Halloween itself.
Why do you wear that costume? Oh, you're a mummy, boy. because that is how Egyptians dressed up their dead for eternity. Spun around in a cocoon of threads, they hoped to come forth like fresh butterflies in some far, deer-loving underworld. Know your cocoon, boy. Touch the strange stuffs.
Now, it's never really explained who or what Monshroud is.
You flew half the night to catch Pip. So how come you're not going up to get him now?
Well, simply because there are some places where I'm not as welcome as others.
All we know is that every pumpkin on the Halloween tree represents a soul, and that he has business with Pip and wants to collect. So badly he would even use his friends to help track him down. A tenuous arrangement, as neither party actually wants the other to get to Pip first. He's also apparently a huge fan of Halloween.
Hold the dark holiday in your palms. Bite it, swallow it, and survive. Come out the far black tunnel of Halloween and be glad, oh so glad, you are alive.
So let me cut to the chase. Have you figured out who the voice of Monshroud is? It's Leonard Nimoy. Yeah, I know! It took me forever to figure that out. I couldn't believe that the same actor that played Spock is this boisterous creep.
Ever wonder why we like dressing up as monsters, beasts, and ornery critters?
It was also narrated by Ray Bradbury himself, which is wonderful when you hear the author's own words in tandem with the poetic imagery.
The ravine. The ravine was filled with varieties of darkness, night, shadows, toad eyes, and raven beaks. The ravine, birthplace of wild mushroom, pale toadstool, whispers and drippings which call, come, stay, linger and hide. Hide here forever, never go, stay, stay.
It's one of the best Halloween specials I can recommend. The visuals are jaw-dropping, it's a nice history lesson about the holiday, and I never thought a Halloween special could actually make me get teary-eyed. Check it out, if not just to hear Leonard Nimoy say ornery critters. The New Misadventures of Ichabod Crane. Did you honestly think with as many versions as there are, only one retelling of Sleepy Hollow would make the list? Well, actually, this is closer to a reimagining that goes to a lot of weird places. The Headless Horseman is terrorizing the countryside of Sleepy Hollow, and the townspeople have elected the most educated among them on such matters, Ichabod Crane, to find out how to stop it.
Have no fear. I, Ichabod Crane.
Okay, you can already see where we veered here. But then he's accompanied by a talking horse,
Do we have to go through there?
a talking dog,
Oh, no. Crossing long, dark, creepy covered bridges ain't in my contract.
and Rip Van Winkle, who for some reason talks like an old prospector.
And dread it. Can a fella get a little shut-eye around here? Why can't you leave a fella in?
Still better than the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. They soon discover that a witch has been using a spell to change herself into the Headless Horseman so she could steal money from traveling carriages.
Why, if they show their noses around here, I'll simply transform myself into my favorite apparition, the Headless Horseman.
So did this inspire the witch controlling the horseman in the Tim Burton version? So with a little sleight of hand, they manage to get the book away from the witch, who then sends her army of scarecrows to hunt them down. This results in one of the greatest things ever.
They tore my legs off and they threw them over there. Then they took my chest out and they threw it over there.
So with Ichabod in possession of the book, the town of Sleepy Hollow has a new protector, the Headless Horseman. Why wasn't this a regular series? Oh, sure, it has little to do with the source material, but that hasn't stopped anyone before. Other than that, this has a wonderfully creepy and vibrant atmosphere, and the animation has a lot of character. A much appreciated twist on an old trick-or-treat favorite. The Great Bear Scare. There's a monster invasion coming! Where? When? How? I don't know, but everyone in Bearbank is just sure of it.
Monsters are coming. That's what most of the bears of Bearbank are whispering to each other.
That's right. Monsters are going to invade the world tomorrow night.
What do you think, sir?
I think smart bears should board up their houses and leave town now.
So they send Ted E. Bear to find out if there's anything to be afraid of. Well, their leader is a Dracula that can't transform into a bat on the first try, so no. By the way, you've probably already noticed something wonky about the animation, in that there is none. Look at this video cover. It specifies ages 5 through 10, because I guess anyone older than that can tell that this is not fully animated. Also, it doesn't have a 60-minute runtime. It's 25 minutes long, with 2 Popeye cartoons tacked onto it. Yeah, but what do you expect when the video company sounds like the Rubber Band Band from Wacky Land? No one is sure, but it's a popular theory that the special suddenly lost its animation budget. The mouths and eyes move, and the opening is fully animated, but characters dissolve into what we call extremes. You see, you have the animator who draws the key poses, or extremes, and then you have the assistant animator, who draws 3 or 4 drawings in between that. So either they couldn't find or didn't want to hire any more employees. However, unlike with today's digital editing, dissolving on film was timely and expensive, so they probably wasted more money doing this than if they just animated the damn thing. Naturally, there are tons of filler, and the visual jokes don't translate well. Why would there be a tent in the middle of the city? But the style looks nice, and the monsters are actually kind of creepy for something that stars a teddy bear. So yeah, this could have been charming despite its limitations. Hold on.
Now, Freddy.
It's Teddy.
Yes. Just remember now, bears are afraid of nothing.
So Teddy deduces that if bears are afraid of nothing, and they are afraid of monsters, therefore monsters are nothing.
But the part of you that's real isn't frightening. It's kind of funny. And the part of you that isn't real is in my mind. And it's only as scary as I make it.
They're not dangerous because they're not real. They're not dangerous because they're incompetent.
Hello. I'm here to conquer the world.
I get what they're saying with the not letting your imagination get the best of you, but if these monsters aren't real, then what's the point?
Hurry, monsters, or else.
What else what, boss?
Or else. Don't you know these stories? We have to be back home and in bed by midnight. It's the rule of the monsters.
Man, I bet the special would be really great if you had some weed. You don't understand, man. It's all about the mind. The teddy bears, a symbol of hope and comfort, were able to survive because they outgrew their past misconceptions. Unlike the monsters, who ended up embracing the hollow limitations based off antiquated beliefs, the same of which they were hoping to use to their advantage. It's like a snake biting its own tongue, man. It's really beautiful when you take the time to think about it. Candy? No, I ate it all. Well, then just turn off the lights.
Monsters would rule the world if it weren't for teddy bears.
The Scarecrow. This is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. It's kind of like a mix of Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and Pinocchio.
If your wish was for greater wisdom, press 1 now.
What?
If your wish was for eternal youth, press 2 now.
Need to look like a human.
All you have to do is put the feather in your hat.
Who are you? My name is Feather Hat. I mean Top. Feathertop. Master Feathertop.
Mr. Needleman's too old to be sent to the workhouse mill.
I'm trying to concentrate.
It isn't his fault he can't pay his debts. His barn caught fire.
How selfish are you?
You have this Scarecrow who's brought to life by a lonely witch, who used to be a dance instructor for a greedy duke, who runs a town like a slave camp. There, a miller worker is trying to raise enough money to move her and 3 orphans away from the town. But she has to hide her money in a field near the Scarecrow, who falls in love with the girl, and wants to become a real boy, and to help her get back her money in a dance-off. Yeah, it's a bad formulaic knockoff that doesn't work, but made worse by the fact that it could have worked. I mean, there's something poetic about having a scarecrow guard your hopes for the future, and the script does seem self-aware.
Killer Scarecrow? What I wouldn't give for one of those levers that opens a big hatch!
Unfortunately, the plot is everywhere, and this is a horn of plenty when it comes to annoying side characters. And then there's this guy, one of the Duke's henchmen that runs the mill, who has a stomach with a mind of its own.
Uh-oh, Melvin's hungry.
Sausage.
But I just gave you bacon and eggs.
Okay, you obviously absorbed a twin who is trying to get out. But the biggest failing is what's supposed to be the main draw. There's a specific way to film and animate dance so that it looks interesting and dynamic. This is just rotoscoping over some basic dance moves. It's dull, especially when the strength of animation is how you can show characters moving in ways they can't in real life. In fact, I think a lot of the animation was rotoscoped, making it look all jerky. That isn't to say there aren't touching and well-executed moments.
Feathertop, you forgot your feather.
But much like the Scarecrow itself, it's made out of hand-me-downs, worn at the seams, and held together with loose threads. It's really saying something when a walking, talking, dancing Scarecrow is not the strangest thing in your Halloween special.
You're bad too, baby. Give me some wood.
You could tell this made-for-TV movie from 1985 was going to be a weird one just from the opening.
Look out, it's the midnight hour, baby!
Yeah, kid, you might want to deal with that first. You're bleeding pretty badly. Oh, okay, he's got some sort of rag. No, it's a Halloween mask. Okay, well, surely now he's gonna... Oh my god, I can't believe this. What's black and white and red all over? The morning edition with the paperboy's blood all over it.
Halloween. My favorite day of the year.
Yeah, don't get too hyped. He's barely in this. Jeez, how much blood does this kid have? You'd think he'd pass out by now. Then we meet one of our main characters, Phil, and see that his dad runs a dentist office outside of his house.
Novocaine? No, it's overrated.
Everyone in this town is sketchy as hell. LeVar Burton has an interesting theory about why.
They gotta look, these people. I mean, you can see it in their eyes. The classic New Englander. Whittling by the stove at the country store, taking Gramps for a walk in the old town square, getting ready for a quilting contest. I mean, staring blankly off into space, man. The lights are on, but nobody's home.
Well, it turns out the town does have history. A witch put a powerful curse on it, so that the dead and demons would rise on Halloween night. Hey, you know what would be a lark? Breaking into a witchcraft museum, stealing a trunk of heirlooms, and having the living descendant of the witch read a mysterious scroll you found out loud.
Astrachios Mundabor Desmagon.
Yeah, pretty good, but can we do it in a cemetery? Close to where a psychopathic killer was buried, right? Well, of course.
Life to the dead, death to the living.
Well, thanks to the Ruby Gang. What? No, it's a play on Scooby Gang. They'll get it. The town is soon overrun with the dead and demonic. Some are out for blood and revenge. Some are completely ineffectual. Where do we go? And others just want to party. And then there's this one zombie from the 1950s who's completely pristine, despite the fact that she's been dead for nearly 30 years. Gosh, I wonder if she's going to be anyone's love interest. She crosses paths with... Oh my god. What is that supposed to be? Football superfan Dracula?
I'm not ready for football anymore.
But as the two start to fall in love, the town is slowly taken over by zombies, werewolves, and the original witch herself, who for some reason is suddenly a vampire. So it's up to Phil and his new undead girlfriend to seal away the evil again with his ancestors' remains. I don't know what to say. It's like they tried to throw everything they could into this one movie. It's a party movie, it's a love story, there's an abusive father subplot. This is around the time of Thriller, so of course they have to have a spontaneous choreographed dance number.
Everybody should try it.
And then they have these really artsy shots, like an operatic zombie singing while a zombie milkman pours out his late-night deliveries? And of course, since this is TV, they have to come up with interesting ways to depict violence and sex without actually showing it. Yeah, I can't tell if this is a Bloody Mary or a screaming orgasm. Aside from that, there are just too many strange things to count. Like, why did they bury a zombie with a straitjacket? How did she turn these wads of paper into pom-poms? And seeing LeVar Burton do this?
And when we did that, that's when I think the character really began to find itself.
But I have to say, there were a lot of creative and memorable moments. And it has a somber but touching ending. Kind of reminds me of the nostalgia pains you get knowing that Halloween is over for another year. For a lot of creepy fun in the way that only the 80s can deliver, and a lot of familiar faces, then I say make an engagement for The Midnight Hour.
Looking for us?
Well, that was the top 13 weirdest Halloween specials. I hope all of you have a spooky and safe holiday. What do you think? I mean, this is okay, right? I mean, you know, it's dark, kids are going to be wearing masks, they won't know the difference, right?
You're more pathetic than that pansy pale top hat kid I used to confiscate comics off of.
I have full size.